In the beginning, there was silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but of waiting. A hush between heartbeats where creation itself holds its breath. Within that silence, two forces glimmered, one of boundless curiosity and one of infinite stillness. Mortals called one of them Goku. Gods called the other ZENO. In another thread of existence, in the moments after the tournament of power, the Omni-King did not erase or smile. He looked. He looked at the mortal who had transcended the laws of gods and angels, who had danced with infinity itself through will, laughter, and instinct. And in that gaze, the cosmos trembled. "You have the heart I never understood," ZENO whispered, voice echoing across time. "Perhaps you should hold the universe next." And thus began the tale of a mortal chosen to inherit the pulse of all creation. A legend whispered by stars, feared by gods, and remembered by every atom of being. Before we step into this alternate destiny, remember to join the journey so our timelines may never fade into silence. Let us walk together into the moment when Goku touched eternity, and eternity looked back. There are moments when even eternity hesitates. Moments when the endless rhythm of creation falters, as if the universe itself fears what comes next. The tournament of power had ended. The dust of erased universes hung like forgotten dreams. Amid the silence of the void, Goku stood before the twin ZENOs, the two omnipotent children whose laughter had shaped the fates of all existence. His chest still rose and fell from battle, though his heart no longer beat with adrenaline. Instead, something deeper stirred, an ache of wonder, confusion, and the faint echo of something divine. ZENO tilted his head, his round eyes unblinking. The small god who had ended worlds with a flicker of thought was smiling. Not the smile of play, but of knowing. "You're fun," he said, the sound rippling through the cosmos like the ringing of a celestial bell. "You made everything so exciting." Goku laughed softly, scratching the back of his neck. "Well, I just did my best. Everyone fought hard. You must have had fun watching, huh?" But the laughter didn't return this time. The Grand Priest stepped forward, his calm face a mirror of the void. His voice carried no air, no sound, only intent. "Lord ZENO, shall we restore what was lost?" ZENO didn't answer immediately. His small hands rose, and in that gesture space folded. Time slowed. Even the Grand Priest, whose eyes had seen infinite creation, looked uncertain. ZENO turned to Goku. "I don't want to erase anymore," he said. "Erasing feels empty." The words pierced through the void. Every angel, every god of destruction felt their divine essence tremble. ZENO, the supreme of all realities, was feeling something human. Goku's smile faded. "You don't want to erase?" ZENO shook his head. "You made me feel something new. When you fought, when you smiled even against nothingness, it was like watching the beginning again, the first spark." The Grand Priest's gaze sharpened. "My lord, such feelings are dangerous. The balance." "I want him to keep it," ZENO said simply, pointing to Goku. "This feeling, this power, everything." The void pulsed. The statement carried not sound, but command. Reality itself bent to it. Every timeline, every possibility quivered like water under stormlight. Goku froze. "Me? Keep what?" ZENO's eyes glowed like the birth of a universe. "You will be me." The Grand Priest's composure cracked just slightly. "Impossible. A mortal cannot bear omnipotence, his form, his soul." "Then change him," ZENO said. "He learns faster than anyone, even angels."
The words struck like lightning through divine order. Beerus rose to his feet from the far edge of the void, fury trembling in his hands. "You can't be serious! That fool? The same Saiyan who challenged me to a food-eating contest?" Whiss's smile faded. He said nothing. For once, even he didn't understand the logic of fate. Goku stood in the center of it all, gods arguing, universes trembling, and yet his gaze remained simple, clear. He didn't understand godhood, or creation, or omniscience, but he knew one thing. When someone believed in him, he didn't turn away. He looked at ZENO, the childlike god who had never known fear, now staring at him with hope. "All right," Goku said, voice steady. "If that's what you really want, then I'll try. I don't know what it means, but I'll give it everything I've got." Silence followed. Then, a single nod from ZENO.
The void exploded in light. It wasn't heat or energy. It was existence itself, blooming like the first dawn. Goku's eyes widened as the light poured through him. Every memory, every timeline, every death and rebirth, they flooded his mind. He saw universes being born, stars collapsing, souls crying out to the heavens. He saw everything, and it was too much. His scream echoed across dimensions, a soundless roar that shattered 1,000 heavens. The Saiyan who had once defied gods now found himself drowning in their eternity. His ki cracked, fracturing into colors no mortal eye could name. Ultra instinct flared and failed. His body burned, not from pain, but from truth. Beerus turned away, grim. He's not built for this. But the Grand Priest watched closely, not with judgment, but curiosity. Amid the collapse, amid the overwhelming flood of creation, something inside Goku did not break. His spirit, the same reckless, childlike fire that had once challenged gods, refused to yield. He reached out, trembling, and through the chaos whispered, "I'm still me." And the light answered. The universe fell quiet. When it cleared, ZENO was gone. In his place stood Goku, surrounded by a faint shimmer of infinite color, eyes reflecting galaxies, but still smiling, softly. The Grand Priest bowed, not deeply, but enough. He said, "Then it is done. The throne has chosen." And as the stars began to breathe again, the cosmos whispered a new name, the mortal king of all. The void was still trembling, the remnants of ZENO's essence scattered like dust through the stars, merging with the faint aura now glowing around Goku. He blinked, unsure if he was breathing or if breath even mattered anymore. His skin shimmered between matter and light. His heart pulsed, not with blood, but with the rhythm of creation itself. When he raised a hand, galaxies drifted like mist from his fingertips. "Whis, Beerus." His voice sounded distant, layered, as though 1,000 versions of himself were speaking at once. "What's happening to me?" Whis approached carefully, his eyes shining with both awe and sorrow. He said softly, "Lord Goku," the title forming naturally now, as if the cosmos had already rewritten it. "You are becoming." "Becoming what?" Goku asked.
Beerus stepped forward, fists clenched. "Becoming what none of us can fight," he growled. "The one who doesn't lose, the one who doesn't bleed, the one who doesn't die." His tone dripped with contempt, but beneath it lay something else, fear. Goku looked at his hands again. They didn't feel like his. He could sense the flow of every star, the cry of every planet, the fragile thread of life woven through space-time. For the first time in his life, his instincts, those simple, joyful urges to fight, to grow stronger, were silent. Inside him, a voice whispered, faint like an echo in a canyon. "Creation and erasure are one breath. To hold all things, you must let go of yourself. He stumbled backward. No, that's not me. I can't just stop being who I am. The Grand Priest's gaze was serene, but his tone carried the weight of infinity. That is the paradox, Lord Goku. To become the successor, you must lose the one who seeks power. ZENO was absolute, but not alive. You are alive, but not yet absolute. Goku's chest tightened. So what happens if I can't let go? The Grand Priest closed his eyes. Then the multiverse will tear itself apart, trying to hold both truths. In that moment, the universe shivered, faintly, but enough that even distant gods of destruction paused mid-thought. The air of existence had changed. Goku felt it, countless lives, endless possibilities, all orbiting around him. The Saiyan instinct in him screamed to control it, to master it like he would a new form. But every time he tried, reality buckled. When he clenched his fist, stars dimmed. When he opened it, time reversed. His power was no longer key. It was will itself, and even a stray thought could birth or end an age. Beerus snarled, aura crackling violet. This is madness! He'll destroy everything before he learns what he is! Enough, said Whis, his voice calm but commanding. You forget, he is still Goku, and Goku has never failed to surprise us. The Saiyan looked up, the weight of infinity behind his eyes. He wanted to smile, to lighten the mood, but the sensation of humor was fading, dissolving into something colder, quieter. He could feel ZENO's presence lingering in the corners of his mind, like a child's laughter echoing through a god's dream. I don't want to erase, Goku whispered, echoing ZENO's final words. I want to protect. That's who I am. The Grand Priest tilted his head slightly. Then learn to protect everything, even those who would destroy. The words struck deeper than any blow. Protect everything, even destruction itself. It was a task no mortal, no god had ever completed. And yet, within Goku, a familiar flame flickered. That same stubborn fire that had carried him beyond gods, beyond instinct, beyond reason. I'll learn, he said. His voice was steady now, anchored in something unshakable, even if it takes forever. Whis smiled faintly. Forever is precisely how long you have, my lord. The void around them began to shift. The fractured remains of ZENO's palace reformed, not of crystal or divine marble, but of flowing light, pure, translucent, like the inside of a star. At its center, a throne emerged, woven from the threads of time itself.
The Grand Priest gestured toward it. Your training begins where eternity rests. Goku hesitated. For a brief instant, he remembered everything he had left behind. His sons, his friends, the taste of Earth's wind, the laughter of his rivals. It all felt impossibly distant now, like dreams of a life lived by someone else. But he smiled anyway. Guess I've got a lot to learn. And with that, the mortal walked toward the throne of creation. The light dimmed. The universe held its breath, and somewhere far away, in a small blue world under a golden sun, a breeze stirred, as if the earth itself sensed that its protector had crossed a line no being had ever returned from. The throne accepted him, and thus began the reign of the mortal king. There is a kind of silence that is not absence, but awareness, a silence so deep it holds the heartbeat of galaxies within it. That was the silence Goku woke to. The throne no longer felt like a seat. It was a universe,
The moment he sat upon it, the boundaries of his body dissolved into light. He was no longer simply in reality. He was woven through it. Time rippled around him like the surface of a lake disturbed by a single breath. The grand priest stood nearby, hands folded behind his back, his expression unreadable. "You must learn not to act." He waved a hand, and space itself opened, a living tapestry of moments from across the universes, planets being born, civilizations rising and crumbling, gods creating and erasing. Each instant existed all at once, and all demanded his attention. Every spark of life cries for balance, but if you move toward one, you unmake another. The king of all cannot choose. He must be. The words struck him harder than any punch. To Goku, choice was everything. To fight, to protect, to push beyond his limits. Those were the sparks that had defined him. Yet now, the cosmos demanded the opposite. Stillness, acceptance.
He looked at his hands. They no longer bore scars, no tremors of battle. His ki no longer roared, but hummed, steady, infinite. It was not a flame, but a horizon. "Then how do I train for that?" he asked, voice trembling slightly. Whis appeared beside the grand priest, serene as ever. He said, "Through unlearning. To become still, you must forget motion. To understand all, you must forget victory." "Forget?" Goku's voice trailed off. "Forget fighting?" Whis nodded slowly. "Forget why you fight." The words tore at him. It was like asking fire to forget how to burn. But Goku nodded. Somewhere deep inside, he felt that same stubborn will flicker, not to conquer, but to understand. "All right, let's begin." And so, the training of the mortal king began. It wasn't a battle of fists or energy. There were no opponents, no tournaments, no cheering. Instead, there were endless ages of silence. He sat upon the throne as universes flowed through him. He watched the rise and fall of mortal lives, the laughter of children, the quiet grief of loss. He saw entire worlds extinguished like candles and felt each flicker as though it were his own heart fading. At first, he resisted. He tried to intervene, to reach out, to change what he saw. But every motion rippled through the fabric of reality, erasing what was meant to be. Each active act caused pain. Each act of will reshaped history. Until one day, he stopped. He breathed, and in that breath, he found stillness. For the first time, Goku understood what it meant to see without wanting to win, to love without needing to save. And in that moment, something within him changed. The power of ultra instinct, once a technique that separated thought from motion, evolved into something higher. It became not instinct, but harmony. His mind no longer anticipated, it flowed. His will no longer resisted, it embraced. The grand priest watched with quiet awe. "He is learning faster than any being ever has," he whispered to Whis. "Not because he seeks power, but because he does not fear surrender." Whis smiled faintly. He always was the freest of mortals. Yet even within enlightenment, a shadow stirred. Deep inside the endless calm, Goku felt a faint ache, a memory of laughter, of battle cries, of his sons calling his name. His mortal heart, buried within the divine silence, still pulsed with longing. And it was that longing that would one day unmake everything he had built. But not yet. For now he sat within the light, calm and infinite, his eyes half closed as galaxies spun around him like fireflies. The Saiyan had become stillness itself. But in the depths of creation, a whisper trembled, ancient, wounded, and hungry. Something long erased by ZENO's hand had felt the shift. The new king was mortal, and mortals could break. Eternity had no sunrise. It had no night. It only breathed. 1,000 years, or perhaps a single heartbeat, passed as Goku sat upon the throne of light.
To him, time no longer moved forward or back. It simply existed, looping endlessly through every moment of creation. The stars pulsed to his rhythm, and the universes expanded and contracted like lungs inhaling the breath of divinity. The Grand Priest observed from afar, silent as the boundary between existence and nothingness. Each moment, he saw traces of ZENO's essence fading, replaced by something entirely new. Not the cold serenity of omnipotence, but the warm pulse of a mortal heart learning how to hold infinity without shattering. Yet still there were tremors. Small at first, invisible to angels, but in the farthest reaches of erased time, the remnants of universes once destroyed by ZENO's play, something began to stir. Forgotten gods, cast into the void beyond the 12th universe, felt the changing current. The power that had erased them was no longer pure. It was feeling, and feeling could be touched. In the stillness of eternity, Goku's mind wandered, not in rebellion, but in remembrance. He drifted through the fragments of himself like pages of an unfinished story. He saw Gohan smiled, Chi-Chi's scolding voice, Vegeta's pride burning like a distant star. He felt the faint pull of the earth, small, fragile, yet stubbornly alive. He exhaled, and a galaxy bloomed. He inhaled, and it folded back into light. Even now, within all that power, his thoughts remained simple. He didn't crave domination or worship. He only wanted to understand. The Grand Priest had once said, to see all, one must lose oneself. But Goku wondered.
His silence deepened, but doubt began to hum beneath it. Whis appeared beside him, hands behind his back, eyes gleaming like twin moons. "You've come far, my lord," he said gently. "The pulse of creation flows through you as if it has always belonged." Goku smiled faintly. "Feels strange, Whis. Every time I breathe, I feel everything. Happiness, pain, all of it. It's beautiful and sad." Whis nodded. "That is the truth of balance. To love creation is to share in its sorrow." "Then why did ZENO never feel it?" Whis hesitated. "Because he was never meant to. He was order without heart, a being who ruled through simplicity. But you, Goku," he turned, gazing into the light that emanated from the Saiyan's chest. "You were born from struggle. You understand loss. You are both infinite and incomplete." The Grand Priest's voice echoed softly through the chamber. "That incompleteness is your gift and your flaw." Goku turned toward him. "Flaw? Mortality cannot be erased," the Grand Priest replied. "No matter how vast your form becomes, the echo of your human heart will remain. That echo will seek meaning, and meaning brings conflict." Goku's brows furrowed. "Conflict? Who?" The Grand Priest's eyes opened, pale, endless. "Between the god you are and the man you were." Silence filled the chamber again, thicker now, heavy with prophecy. Far beyond their awareness, in the spaces where time had been erased, a ripple of laughter echoed, ancient, cruel, and patient. The forgotten gods, remnants of the first creation before ZENO, stirred from their eternal sleep. They felt the weakness of empathy in the new throne. They smelled the heartbeat of mortality where once there had only been perfection. And they began to awaken. Back in the throne, Goku lowered his gaze. The Grand Priest's words hung in his mind like a scar that would never fade. The god he was meant to be demanded serenity. The man he had been longed for meaning. He could no longer tell which was real. He closed his eyes and saw the earth again, the blue oceans, the wind, the laughter of those who never knew his name. It was all so far away, yet it called to him like a whisper through the void. "I miss them," he murmured. Whis bowed his head slightly. "Then you are still whole."
A faint tremor passed through the palace, so subtle it could have been the breath of time itself, yet both angels felt it. Whis' staff flickered. The Grand Priest's gaze sharpened. Goku looked up. "What was that?" "An echo," the Grand Priest said slowly. "Something that should not be." He stepped forward, hand glowing with divine geometry. Runes of cosmic light flared across the void as he peered beyond the walls of the known universes. His voice dropped. The void beyond existence stirs. Whis turned to Goku, his calm fading for the first time. My lord, something ancient has noticed you. The air grew cold. Even light hesitated to move. Goku's aura dimmed to a whisper. His voice, barely a breath, broke the silence. Then I guess training's not over yet. At the edge of reality, where erased time curls back into itself like burnt paper, something moved. It began as a shimmer in the void, a faint vibration beneath the hum of creation. Then came the sound, a deep, resonant pulse that wasn't heard but felt, echoing through the bones of universes. The angels turned their eyes toward it. The gods, those who could still sense fear, trembled. Something was waking. Something ZENO himself had once buried in silence. The grand priest stood at the base of the throne of light, eyes half-lidded but heavy with knowing. So it begins, he murmured. The past returns to challenge what should never have changed. Goku rose slowly. His form shimmered, not flesh, not energy, but the bridge between both. What is it? Whis looked toward the endless dark. The void born, remnants of the first pantheon, erased before ZENO's reign. They were gods of instinct, chaos given voice. Goku tilted his head, puzzled. Chaos? Like bad guys? The Grand Priest's voice carried no emotion. Not bad, just free. Too free for eternity to contain. The throne chamber pulsed with quiet unease. Goku stepped down from the platform, each motion bending reality as a space itself leaned toward his will. If they're free, they'll come for me, right? They already are, Whis whispered. And indeed, in the farthest reaches of existence, the void cracked open like a wound. From within emerged shapes that defied form, beings of living shadow, their bodies threaded with the memory of forgotten stars. They did not walk, they unfolded, spilling into reality with whispers that twisted gravity itself. The first of them spoke, not in words, but through intent that tore across every dimension at once. Who dares to hold the pulse we lost?
The cosmos shuddered. Every Kaioshin felt their spirits waver. Every god of destruction felt their flames flicker. And deep within the still heart of the throne room, Goku opened his eyes. The light within them burned with quiet sorrow. He raised his hand, and the void stilled. I don't want to fight you, but I won't let you hurt anyone. The shadows recoiled, not in fear, but in wonder. They remembered the echo of this voice, not divine, not absolute, alive. The leader stepped forward, taller than suns, his body woven from fractured universes. His name was never meant to be spoken again, yet it drifted through the emptiness like smoke. Aion, the first god of motion, once the twin to stillness itself. Aion's voice rumbled like the collapse of galaxies. You are not ZENO. You are not the silence. You carry the noise of mortals within you. Goku nodded slowly. Guess that's true. Then you are flawed. Yeah, but flaws are what make us grow. The void screamed. Aion lunged forward, his movement tearing holes through space-time. Planets that had never existed blinked into being and vanished as he passed. Goku moved instinctively, but this time, Ultra Instinct was no longer a transformation. It was the universe itself breathing through him. He met the blow not with power, but with stillness. Aion's strength shattered against the calm. Ripples of light cascaded across dimensions, not destruction, but rebalancing. Each impact rewove reality into new form. From the outside, it looked like two infinities colliding. From within, it felt like two souls searching for meaning. Why do you resist?
Ion roared, fury burning through the cracks in his form. You were mortal once. You should understand the hunger for freedom. I do, Goku said, his voice breaking slightly. But freedom isn't destroying what others need to live. Their auras clashed again, and this time the multiverse fractured. Reflections of timelines rippled outward like glass breaking in slow motion. Whis and the Grand Priest shielded the divine realms as fragments of erased history returned, echoes of universes thought long gone. Ion staggered back, form flickering. You wield stillness like a weapon, yet your heart bleeds chaos. You cannot hold both. Goku looked down, breathing softly. Maybe not, but I can try. The Shadow God's laughter was cold and weary, like a storm remembering itself. Then you will become what you fight, a god torn in half.
And before he vanished back into the void, his voice twisted around Goku's heart. The others will come, the forgotten will rise, and when they do, your mortal heart will be the first thing to break. The silence that followed was heavier than battle. The stars dimmed as if grieving. The Grand Priest stepped closer, eyes unreadable. So it begins, creation against its memory. Goku stood still, gazing into the dark horizon where Aeon had vanished. For the first time since ascending, his heartbeat echoed louder than eternity. And deep inside that beat, a truth whispered. The test was never about holding power. It was about surviving compassion. The silence after the clash lingered like the aftertaste of thunder. Even in the halls of divine creation, the echoes of that confrontation rippled through time. The angels whispered among themselves in tones softer than starlight, and the gods of destruction, scattered across the universes, felt something they hadn't known since their own births: dread. For the first time in eons, something greater than divine law had stirred. Whis floated beside the Grand Priest, both gazing into the void where Aeon's presence had disappeared. His expression, usually unreadable, carried a flicker of unease. He held back, Whis murmured. The Grand Priest nodded once. Of course, he was only the first. The others will not. Below them, Goku knelt among the drifting embers of shattered reality. He wasn't wounded, gods of his level no longer could be, but he felt pain, the pain of understanding, the pain of knowing that every blow he struck, every defense he raised, sent ripples through the living fabric of creation. Even defending life now carried the weight of destruction. He stared at his hands. Light and shadow bled from them in equal measure. I thought I was supposed to protect everything, but every time I move, something breaks. The Grand Priest stepped forward, his staff lowering to the ground. You are learning the truth of balance. The King of all does not protect, he preserves. Creation and destruction are the same gesture, merely performed from different sides. Goku's eyes darkened. But what's the point if protecting one world destroys another? There is no point, the Grand Priest replied, almost sorrowfully. Only continuity. The universe must flow, even if that flow drowns the innocent and exalts the cruel. For a moment, the new King of all said nothing. His silence carried weight, heavier than divine command. Then, softly, he said, "That's not the kind of universe I want to live in." The Grand Priest met his gaze, two infinities colliding, and for the first time in countless ages, the old god smiled faintly. Then perhaps the multiverse finally has a chance to change.
Whis turned, eyes narrowing as his staff flickered. They're moving, he said quietly. Thousands of echoes. The void is waking up.
Far beyond, in the rift between erased timelines, Aeon's laughter returned, joined by other voices. Some wept, others sang. It was not language, but emotion given form, and with each note, forgotten universes bled back into existence, half alive and half memory. Goku rose, the throne behind him pulsed in rhythm with his heart. Then we don't have much time. The Grand Priest extended his arm, and the floor of eternity reshaped into a map of all existence, 12 universes shimmering like embers in an infinite dark sea. Around them, unseen shapes began to form, vast ancient silhouettes. There were 7 before ZENO, 7 who ruled creation before it was bound by order. Aeon was the first, the others slumber still. 7, Goku repeated, his eyes narrowing. Then I'll face them one by one. Whis tilted his head. You speak as though battle is inevitable. Goku looked up, and for a moment that old fire flickered in his gaze, the same spark that once defied gods, fate, and time itself. If they're hurting lives, I can't sit here and watch. Stillness or not, that's not me. The Grand Priest's voice softened, and yet, to act as a mortal will unravel the divine. You will fall from the throne. Goku smiled, gently, resolutely. Then I'll fall, but I'll fall protecting someone. He turned his eyes to the universes below, glowing faintly like candles in a storm. Earth, Vegeta, Gohan, Beerus, everyone out there still living their lives. If these gods come for them, I'll be there. Whis bowed slightly, a ghost of pride flickering through his calm. Then the throne shall move with you. Reality bent, the seat of all existence, once immovable, followed Goku's step like a shadow of light. He descended into the void where the forgotten gods had begun to stir, not as a ruler, but as a warrior once more. And as he moved, the universes trembled in chorus. Some gods prayed, others hid. But one, the god of destruction, Beerus, sat up from his slumber, golden eyes narrowing. He's really doing it, idiot Saiyan. Yet even he smiled, because, somewhere deep down, every being who had ever fought beside Goku knew the truth. Even gods needed a mortal to remind them what courage looked like. The void ahead began to pulse with 1,000 new lights, each one a forgotten god returning from erasure. The sky cracked with colorless lightning. Whis whispered, "They come." And Goku, standing amid the storm of reborn divinity, closed his eyes. The air around him stilled. The silence of ZENO met the fire of a mortal soul.
And the battle for eternity began. There are wars that last a day and wars that last beyond time. This was the latter, a battle that would never end, because it was not fought for land or rule or victory. It was fought for the soul of existence itself. When the first blow fell, the multiverse screamed. The forgotten gods returned not as armies but as storms, each one a force of concept made flesh. They were not beings to be understood, only felt. Where one walked, truth itself fractured. Where another breathed, life forgot to die. The throne of Goku drifted through the chaos, its light dimming beneath the weight of infinity. He stood atop it, the mortal who had become the still heart of all creation, watching as the old gods tore their way back into being. From the center of the void, Aeon appeared again, his body now whole, his voice carrying the thunder of ages. "See, Saiyan, you opened the gate yourself. Your compassion brought us home." Around him 6 others emerged, embodiments of what even gods once feared. Lysara, the goddess of hunger, who devoured possibilities. Morth, the architect of silence, whose presence erased meaning. Keval, the flame of endless rebirth. Tirun, the weaver of chaos. Arviel, the mourner of lost time. And Voss, the father of shadows, whose eyes burned like dying suns. Together they circled him, the mortal king, like predators around a wounded star. Whis and the Grand Priest hovered at the edge of the storm, their halos dimming. Even they, beings of infinite poise, understood that this was beyond divine order. This was existence remembering what it had forgotten to fear. Goku's aura flickered like twilight caught between two eternities. "If you want to destroy everything," he said softly, "you'll have to go through me." Lasara laughed, the sound like galaxies being devoured. "Through you? You are us! You are the balance ZENO broke! Do you not feel it, child of flesh? You are chaos given form!" And in that instant, Goku felt it. A pull within him, a vibration deep in his spirit that resonated with the void itself. The same energy that flowed through them flowed through him. The same creation, the same hunger, the same flaw. He was one of them. He always had been. Aeon extended his hand. "Join us. Cast away the throne and return to what you were, not ruler but motion, not balance but will." For a heartbeat, Goku hesitated. The throne behind him glowed faintly, the silent reminder of ZENO's serenity, of stillness, the path he had been chosen for. Yet before him stood the wild freedom of chaos, the spirit that mirrored his own desire to act, to live, to feel.
Could a being born of motion truly embrace stillness forever? He smiled faintly, eyes closing. "You're right," he said quietly. "I am part of you." The gods leaned forward. "But that means I know what you really want." His eyes opened, blazing silver, burning gold. "You don't want to erase. You just want to be remembered." Aeon froze. Lasara's smile faltered. The void trembled. Then Goku stepped forward, his aura expanding, not destructive, not divine, but alive. "ZENO tried to silence you. I won't. I'll fight you to stop the chaos, but I'll remember you. I'll remember why you were here." Voss snarled, his voice 1,000 dying stars. "Compassion will kill you." "Maybe, but it's who I am." The clash that followed shattered reality. Each forgotten god unleashed their essences, worlds of power colliding like oceans of gravity. Lasara's hunger swallowed constellations, Tarun spun timelines into blades, K'Val burned through rebirth itself, consuming even immortality. Goku met them all, not as a warrior, but as reflection, adapting to every force with the calm rhythm of stillness. When Lasara devoured, he gave. When K'Val burned, he cooled. When Morth erased, he remembered. Every motion he made balanced the storm, and yet the cost was unbearable. The more he fought, the more he dissolved. His mortal self flickered like a candle in the wind. His laughter faded, his warmth drained. At the edges of the void, Whis whispered to the Grand Priest, "He's unraveling." The Grand Priest's gaze was heavy. He is trading self for harmony. The mortal heart cannot bear eternity's burden much longer. And still, Goku pressed on. He fought not with rage, but with compassion, and that compassion began to rewrite the very laws of reality. The forgotten gods hesitated, their forms wavered, uncertain. For the first time they felt remorse. Aeon's voice broke through the storm, trembling with something ancient. "Why? Why fight this way? Why not destroy us and be done?" Goku's hand glowed, not with divine energy, but with something purer. "Because I've destroyed enough. This time, I want to understand." And with that he stepped forward, not to strike, but to embrace. Aeon roared, the void collapsing into light. The multiverse blinked, and for a moment, everything was nothing. Light returned slowly, hesitant, trembling, like a newborn remembering how to breathe. When the storm cleared, the battlefield was gone. There was no up or down, no space or distance, only a vast sea of shifting color where time itself had melted into emotion. At the center of it, Goku floated, half man, half memory. His aura no longer shone like flame, but like the reflection of one, dim yet infinite.
Around him drifted the remnants of the forgotten gods, their forms unraveling into dust that glowed with faint remembrance. He had not destroyed them, he had absorbed their sorrow. Each god's essence, chaos, hunger, rebirth, silence, now pulsed within him, woven into the tapestry of his being. His heartbeat carried the echo of their voices, not as enemies, but as witnesses. Whis appeared beside the Grand Priest, his staff dimmed, his voice no more than a whisper. It's done. He didn't fight them, he forgave them. The Grand Priest's eyes narrowed, though awe flickered within them. No being, mortal or divine, has ever carried so many contradictions within one soul. He has done the impossible, but at what cost? Goku opened his eyes. For the first time, they were not silver or gold, they were human. He looked down at his hands, the same hands that had once clenched into fists for battle, now trembling from holding too much life. They weren't evil, he said softly, just forgotten, lost in silence too long. His voice shook, but his smile held steady. Now they're home. As if answering him, the dust of the gods swirled around his body, a constellation of color, forming the faint outline of wings that flickered in and out of reality. Every fragment whispered a wordless hymn, neither mourning nor praise. The Grand Priest stepped forward. You have taken chaos into yourself. You are no longer merely successor to ZENO. You are everything ZENO was not. I don't know about that, Goku said quietly. I just did what felt right. Whis' gaze softened, and that, my lord, is why the universe survives. But as they spoke, the void trembled again. Subtly, faintly, the kind of tremor that came not from violence, but imbalance. The Grand Priest turned sharply, raising his staff. Impossible. Equilibrium is failing. Goku frowned. What's happening?
The Grand Priest's voice was grave. You are no longer a singular being. By merging with the forgotten gods, you have given the multiverse too many centers. Creation cannot sustain infinite wills. The meaning hit him slowly, like gravity rediscovered. You mean, I'm tearing it apart? Whis nodded. Not by intent, but by existence. Around them, the stars began to flicker out. One by one, universes rippled, bending toward him like rivers drawn to an ocean. The throne of creation pulsed wildly, its light distorting as it tried to anchor his form. Every heartbeat now created new worlds and erased old ones. Every breath rewrote history. He was no longer fighting to hold balance. He was balance, and balance was collapsing under its own weight. The Grand Priest raised his staff desperately. We can seal it. We can divide his essence again before the multiverse fractures. Whis' hand shot out, stopping him. No, he must choose. The power is no longer ours to control. The two angels turned toward him, the last mortal who had ever reached infinity. Goku closed his eyes. His mind felt like an ocean of voices. ZENO's innocent laughter, Aeon's fury, the cries of creation, the quiet heartbeat of every life that ever existed. It was all inside him, singing, pleading. He smiled sadly. Guess I really did overdo it this time. Whis' voice broke, soft and reverent. What will you do, my lord? I'll set it free. The words carried more than sound. They carried truth. He rose from the throne, light pouring from his body like sunrise through clouds. Every god, every angel, every mortal felt it, the shift in being, the moment when all things began to return to their own stories. The Grand Priest's voice trembled. You'll cease to exist. Maybe, Goku said as his aura brightened into pure white. But maybe, that's what I was supposed to learn all along. His light touched the throne, and it shattered, not in violence, but release. The fragments of eternity spread outward, seeding new worlds, new universes, each carrying a sliver of his will. Whis fell to one knee, tears unseen in the fabric of his calm. He's turning creation itself into compassion. And as the last of Goku's form dissolved, his voice echoed across all things.
Don't stop growing. Don't stop fighting, but never forget to feel.
The void went quiet. Then softly, the stars returned, brighter, warmer, as if smiling. In a small corner of a new universe, a blue planet spun under a golden sun. A boy with spiky hair chased clouds across the sky, laughing, unaware that his laughter was the echo of a god who had once loved everything enough to let it go. There are endings that sound like thunder, and there are endings that fall like whispers. This one was both. The multiverse breathed again. New stars bloomed where the void once fed on silence. Galaxies spiraled outward, alive with the warmth of rediscovered meaning. Every world, every life, every atom pulsed with a quiet remembrance, though none could name what they remembered. Something had been lost. Something had been set free. The grand priest stood upon the remnants of the old divine realm, a palace of light now empty of its king. Around him, the angels worked in solemn grace, weaving new laws into the fabric of reality. Yet every time they stitched a thread of order, they felt it, a soft pulse, somewhere beyond reach, guiding the pattern. Whis hovered over the new cosmos, his staff reflecting countless newborn universes. "He's still here," he said softly, "not as presence, but as memory." The grand priest inclined his head. Memory is all creation ever truly was. He closed his eyes. Across his mind flickered an image, the mortal who had once smiled even in the face of godhood, who had refused to rule through fear or silence. He taught us what ZENO could not, that power without love is entropy, that eternity without heart is emptiness. Whis smiled faintly. He'd have said it simpler. Something like, "No point winning if nobody's happy." A rare laugh escaped the grand priest's lips, quiet, reverent. Indeed. Far away, in one of the infinite universes born from that final act, the echoes of Goku's essence began to take shape. Not as a god, not as a man, but as energy that remembered being both. His will had become part of creation's rhythm, a song that only the pure of heart could hear. On Earth, the sun rose over Mount Paozu. The wind danced through green fields, carrying laughter, innocent, unaware. Chi-Chi stepped onto the porch, calling into the morning air, "Gohan, Goten, breakfast!" Somewhere nearby, a breeze brushed her hair. For just a moment she turned, and sure she heard a familiar voice laugh softly in the wind. "Still nagging, huh?" She smiled, without knowing why. Meanwhile, across the heavens, Beerus awoke from a dream. His ears twitched, tail flicking. He looked around the divine chamber, feeling an ache he couldn't name. Tch, that idiot, always causing trouble.
Whis appeared beside him, smile serene. "It seems your friend has saved existence once again." Beerus crossed his arms, glancing toward the stars. He'd better not be expecting me to thank him. But his eyes softened. He really was something else. For a while, the universes were at peace. The forgotten gods no longer raged, their essence now part of the heartbeat of reality itself. No more erasures, no more divine whims, only the quiet order born from understanding. And yet, in the deepest corners of the cosmos, a ripple stirred. Within that ripple, in a place beyond time, where light and shadow met without form, a single spark flickered. It pulsed faintly like the first heartbeat of a newborn star. The voice that rose from it was not divine nor mortal. It was everything in between. "Guess I'm not done yet." The spark grew, coalescing into a shape, not Goku as he was, but as the universe remembered him. His form was woven from energy and memory, pure and unburdened. His eyes reflected eternity, but his smile was still unmistakably human. He looked around the endless expanse of shimmering creation and laughed quietly. "Guess they're doing fine without me." He raised his hand, and with it, galaxies drifted aside like water. The cosmos bent toward his warmth. But this time, he did not hold them. He only watched. Balance, huh? Maybe it's not something you keep. Maybe it's something you trust. Behind him, the light shimmered, taking faint shapes of those he once knew. Vegeta's pride, Gohan's compassion, Beerus's fire, ZENO's innocence, all echoes, all still alive somewhere. And in that vision, he understood. He hadn't vanished. He had become the path itself. Every act of courage, every act of kindness, every mortal who looked up at the stars in wonder, they were carrying his will forward. He turned toward the infinite horizon. There was no more throne, no more title, only freedom. Guess I'll keep training. He smiled at the expanse. Still got a lot to learn.
And with that, he leapt into the sea of creation, vanishing into color and light. The motion sent ripples through the cosmos, subtle but eternal. Somewhere on 1,000 worlds, warriors felt their spirits stir, their hearts ignite, their will awaken, and none of them knew why. But the stars did. They pulsed in rhythm with a single, unending heartbeat. The heartbeat of the man who once defied gods, befriended infinity, and chose compassion over power. The man who became legend and then became everything. The mortal king who smiled at the end of all things and turned the end into a beginning. And as the universes sang quietly in his memory, the light of creation whispered his name once more, not as worship, but as love. Son Goku. The stars burned quietly, as if remembering his will.